here with Jeff Dillabough, the VP of Engineering from Teradici. So, Jeff, I've grabbed you to show us kind of what's new and interesting. So, do you want to perhaps take us through some of the things in the Teradici booth here at VMworld?
Sure. So this is a demonstration of a card we call the Apex 2800. And it's an offload card. So in a VDI deployment, where you have a large number of users on a single server, View5, this card can be plugged into that same server. It's a PCIe card. We have an example of it right here. And what this is going to do is offload the PCIe processing from the CPUs and do that on this card. The end result is that you're going to get a higher consolidation ratio. You're going to bring down some of the metrics like power per desktop, cost per desktop, and so on. What we see up here is an example of the card in action. So on the graph here, we're monitoring live the bandwidth utilization, the CPU utilization of a non-offloaded server and an offloaded server. So on the left we have the non-offloaded server. Actually, it seems to be reversed, and then the offloaded. The statistics here show the CPU utilization with and without. So you can see that without is the blue line, and it's a little more peaky, and it certainly runs higher the CPU utilization side. The red, when it's offloaded, doing exactly the same kind of load on the server. You can see that they correspond to each other, but you can see how the CPU level is dropped, and also the peaks are sort of leveled out. So it really helps a lot to get you to be able to provision more desktops per server, and then keep that, operate closer to the limit, not provide so much headroom. So it increases the consolidation ratio. And we've seen, it depends on the workload, the kind of users or desktop experiences that you're using, but you can see anywhere from just a little bit of improved performance to almost 2x performance in the number of users you can have.
So you're using video here, Jeff. What about a typical sort of, desktop type workload, just 2D applications, very simple?
Yeah, that's a good question, because some of the, like I said, the really low end, more or less static kind of workloads are just, Outlook, that kind of stuff. It's not moving too much. The offload is not a huge improvement, but it's the odd user that's going to be doing video, or what we've also seen is this PDF scrolling. That's another one that actually does consume quite a CPU processing, so it really works well in those scenarios as well.
Fantastic.
So, but it is definitely a range of offloading performance, and like I said, it really cuts down the peaks when a group of users starts to do things like YouTube, scrolling PDFs, etc.
Right, yeah, it's a great looking technology, and I know that my inbox is full of notes from the VMware field technical team saying, Dave, when do I get one of my one, and can you steal one off the stand? So everyone's very excited about
it. Right here, don't steal it, please.
Okay, that's great.
So this is a demonstration of an early release of our second generation Zero Client chips. And so what you see is a client down there. And in this generation of the Zero Client, you're able to natively handle 4 1080p displays. And unlike the previous generation where that was limited to workstations, we'll get the quad 1080p displays with the VMware View VDI deployments. The same client will either handle the 4 1080p's or dual 30-inch or 2560 by 1600 displays, supporting both DisplayPort or DVI. So what we're primarily showing here is the improvements in the View5 software versus previous releases of View. And a lot of the work that went into View5 was to reduce the bandwidth on the link, and there was a few sort of things that were changed to actually make that happen. One of which was caching in the client. And so what we see here is a comparison of a cached version or View5 deployment and a View 6, and the statistics here are showing the bandwidth. You can see it's quite spiky on this one. We just started the PowerPoint presentation new, so the cache was empty effectively. You can see now that it's getting a lot of matches. The bandwidth has dropped to 0. Whereas on this side, showing exactly the same slide presentation in View 6, it continues to be very, very peaky and bursty. I don't know if it's enabled or disabled in this demo, but some of the other things we added to the View5 release to decrease bandwidth was a selection, a user selectable option to disable built to lossless, and that also brings some of the bandwidth down. And we made some improvements in the text as well. Anyway, the lossy algorithms we employ for getting text across the link has also brought the bandwidth down. But that's primarily what this is about, is showing the big bandwidth improvements we made in View 5.
Yeah. So with the build to lossless off, what sort of visual degradation does that leave for the user? I mean, is it fairly negligible for standard apps?
It's pretty negligible, yeah. We still call it perceptually lossless, but we can't prove that it's perfect. Well, we know it's not perfect. So, for example, in a medical application, when you're looking at X-rays and stuff, you'd want to keep that display build to lossless enabled, right? But if you're on a remote link or something like that, and bandwidth is your primary concern, you know, a lot of users click that off. They're probably not going to notice the difference.
Good stuff. Okay, well look, thanks very much for spending some time and walking around the booth. I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.